Good evening, people. Welcome to the most overdue rec stream in history, since I have actually been promising to stream these recs for probably about a month now, but in the interim I've streamed pretty much everything, but even straying into the unknown territory of deathmatch for me, and casting basically everything except the things that I've been promising for so long. So to make up for that, gonna stream these games. Gonna be best of 5 series between China and Finland. Now this was they played for $200 basically. I'm not entirely sure how the prize money was split. I think that what they may have actually done in the end was have played all 5 games anyway. So it was nominally a best of 5, but I think they just played all 5, and it could be 5-0 or it could be 3-2, who knows, to either team, and that they split the money evenly across the games. The alternative is that they possibly gave the money to the winners of the best of 5, but that nonetheless continued to play the series out. I'm not sure, but either way I believe that they agreed beforehand to play all 5 games regardless of what the result was. Somebody in the chat is asking how old are these recs and are they unseen. They are approximately 1 month old. To my knowledge, nobody has streamed them, although they were listed for download, posted by Hugh Castle on AOC Zone. So, given that they are pretty high profile games that would be interesting to a lot of people, given that they feature 2 top national teams, they will have received a lot of downloads, and I'm sure there'll be somebody who tunes into this stream tonight and has already seen the games, but as far as I know, they haven't been streamed at all. Just following this ball steal going on here, Yo taking a ball from Zuppy, and Zuppy hot on his heels trying to get it back, but we can see that both of Yo's own balls are very, very far forward, so it's going to be so easy for Zuppy to take one back if he wants to. He's basically giving up on trying to stop that one going back, because it's just much easier to... I thought he was going to go for the double then. He strayed towards this one. Man, that would have been such a great opportunity to take the double ball steal. You see this a lot from Yo when he plays Mongol flanking team games. I'm pretty sure that in the China versus Brazil set that I casted probably 3 weeks ago now, something like that, I was busy introducing the format and the players, and basically the same thing happened where I was having to keep track on Yo stealing a ball within the first couple of minutes whilst I was trying to just let you guys know the context of these games. So these form part of a series where China has been training for, or the Chinese players in their kind of SY configuration as opposed to Chinese national team configuration, have been training for the upcoming team game tournament basically, which if you haven't seen announced on AOC Zone, the Chinese community, with their great generosity once again, because they've been sponsoring so much lately, have come up with $30,000 to sponsor a team game tournament, which is going to be like it's called Clan Masters Final Showdown, but it's not an invitational tournament like the Clan Masters that we had at the end of 2015. It's actually open team game tournament. You can enter with like whatever combination of players you like. So that is on the horizon, and China playing against Finland and playing against Brazil in prize money series, and also playing some games against the likes of CZ, Germany, and also, as I keep saying, I think Vietnam, although I've never seen those recs get posted, is a sign of them wanting to train really hard for this upcoming team game tournament that has now been announced. Obviously, if Finland were to enter it in this sort of configuration as well, that would be very, very good for them, although we've got 2 NABS players here, so Pike and Zuppy would likely be playing as NABS. I think that in the following games more players turned up, so I think they become 4v4 from game 2 or something like that. I'm pretty sure, I actually saw these players in the room on the day and playing in their locked room, and I'm pretty sure Ruben Stock was there, so I think Ruben Stock will appear in subsequent games. But anyway, enough setting the scene now, because we're almost at minute 7. We'll take a look at this actual game. We've got 3v3. Is this... it's normal Arabia, of course, not dry Arabia. I can see the water on my screen. Checking out of habit there. We've got on this side, we've got Mongols mirror between Zuppy in the blue for Finland and Yo in the yellow for China. Both of them stole one of each other's balls, so nothing going on there that's basically both players playing it exactly the same. In the pockets for Finland, we've got Max playing Huns in teal, and China's pocket is going to be Yinghua / Lovecheng playing Mayan pocket in green. So interesting, Mayan pocket in a 3v3. Pretty difficult if he doesn't sling, because the demands of playing pocket in 3v3 are such that you've got to play both sides of the map. And plumes are pretty fast, but they're not as, they're not quite as mobile as knights, and they're also a little bit later. Obviously, if you're playing Huns in the pocket, then you could dump 2 stables and be supporting your allies like pretty early on, pretty quickly, getting a large number of knights out. But if you're Mayans, you're going to be a couple of minutes later while you get your castle up, and then you're producing from one building. It's slower to mass. So I think Mayan pocket in a 3v3 is really hard to play if you don't sling. So that will be interesting to see. And then on the right hand side, we've got Pike playing Mayan flank, and he is matching up against Moonlight in the red, otherwise known as PBTD, and he's playing Hun flank. So this side's going to be interesting to see. Moonlight going with the Drush approach, so not scouts, whereas I imagine we're going to be seeing both scouts on the left hand side. Interestingly though, no Drush coming out for Pike in the purple. He's gonna, so that's kind of weird. If you've got Mayans versus Huns on a flank in a team game, if one player drushes and not the other, you'd put your money on it being the Mayan player drushing. But so going to be interesting to keep tabs on how Pike plays this. For now, he's gone straight onto gold, so probably going to see archers from him. Interesting lumber camp location as well. I mean, it's so far away and so exposed. It's not really as if he had very many better options. I mean, he could possibly have gone here, but that will probably stay hidden from Moonlight for quite a long time if he hasn't already scouted down there. He'll come into Pike's base looking for the lumber line and be thinking like, where the hell is he actually gathering wood from? Because it's just so far away. Be interesting to see if he spots it. Some nice downhill hits by the eagle of Pike on Moonlight's scout there, but looks like he's going to lose his own scouting eagle pretty quickly and cheaply to those militia. And now a villager as well, looking in pretty bad shape, and will be lucky to make it back to the TC without being picked off. Although it's starting to look as if Moonlight's units have blocked themselves just a little too much. Will the Moonlight get the pick? No. Scout runs away on 1 HP. I have to feel that if Moonlight hadn't suffered those couple of pokes by the eagle of Pike downhill on his scout, then he'd probably had enough HP to risk going for that villager pick and finishing them off. Left hand side, not seeing scouts, that's unusual. Yo not going scouts as flank Mongols. Normally see him doing that all the time. But Zuppy has gone with the predictable scouts approach as Mongols flank. Recs are about a month old, guys. Not going to repeat all the context from earlier on, but yeah, these were played before the China versus Brazil games, if you saw those. Nice little sneak through the walls of Yo by Zuppy here, picking off a villager with the spear being just out of position. Meanwhile, Pike going archers as predicted from 2 ranges. Looks like Moonlight's Drush is gonna locate the wood line of Pike almost by accident at this point, given that it was running away from the archers. But now that Pike does have a couple of archers on the field, gonna be easy for him to clean up that Drush. It shouldn't get a villager, although with this one looking like it was trapped, but just about managing to make it through the kind of the cord and the barrier. Yeah, that villager's going to get away. Pike will probably take that back to TC and keep it gathering from sheep or a farm or a straggler tree. No sense sending such a low villager back out to the wood line. Scouts from Zuppy got sealed out by Yo, making his base nice and compact. Walls across the front and the back, and then production facilities on the side. So the Zuppy scouts will go to the pocket, diving past the TC, and have a decent chance of picking up one of Lovecheng's villagers here. That one's on 8 HP diving into the TC, but that's great for Zuppy to be idling Lovecheng's woodline so much at this point. We do see Lovecheng heavily on stone and going up to the Castle Age, so that can only mean one thing. It's going to be going with the plumes from Pocket Approach, which, as I said, is a I think it's a challenge to play compared to just like being a hun pocket on this in this situation. So going to be, like I said, going to be interesting to see how well Love Cheng manages to play that. Overall, like, I do like the Civ positions a little bit better for Finland, so you know, China will have to work hard to overcome that slight disadvantage, although it's far, far, far from decisive. Of course, it all depends what the players do, strategies and how they execute. Moonlight on his way to the Castle Age. Pike, given that he went for fast up and 2 ranges, and had quite a bit of disruption. I think, did he lose? No, he lost his scout, not a villager, didn't he? Quite a bit of disruption. It's kind of stunted his economy, and we don't really see him doing damage up to now. I can see some purple dots making their way across the map there, but for now I want to focus on Yo, who is in on the wood line of Max. Nice quick wall there of Max getting an extra stable out there to trap those archers in, and with scale barding armor kicking in, and Hun stables about to have 2 knights pouring out. He should be able to chase down those archers and get rid of them fairly easily. He would obviously be able to just kill them off if that hole wasn't there in the first place, but then again, the archers wouldn't be in there, would they? Meanwhile, Pike, in combination with Zuppi, hitting Love Cheng's very, very far forward main gold with great effect here, and this looks like 3 villagers down at least at this point. I don't know if any more went down running back. I can see a skeleton there. Looks like one may have gone down running away from the berries. Castle will go up and keep the Finnish place somewhat away from Love Cheng's goal, but not if they attack it from the left hand side. But even as the castle goes up, they can run in and potentially pick another 2 villages on the stone. Love Cheng is getting absolutely hammered here. He's going to be down like 6 villagers or something like that at this point. Once these 2 go down, we can see that he'll be 6 villagers behind Yo, for example, and 5 villagers behind the opposing pocket. Even though as Mayans, you starting with that extra villager, you know, you have every chance of being a villager ahead. Really, really tough situation for Love Cheng to be in, and having spent the whole Dark Age, well, not the whole Dark Age, but like a good portion of the early game gathering lots of stone to be able to get a castle up straight away at the start of Castle Age, and then losing half a dozen villages. That is just such a disastrous blow to his economy. And then on top of that, pushed off his main goal and not gathering gold for ages, not gathering wood for the most part, because first of all he was pushed off this lumber camp, now he's pushed off this lumber camp, and he's also not able to gather any more stone, so his 3rd TC is going to be delayed. This has been fantastic pressure by Finland on Love Cheng. Great team play for the 2 flank players in the kind of late feudal early castle to converge on the enemy pocket. Really, really great stuff. Looks like Pike with his kind of isolated and vulnerable wood line, showing great foresight here in putting up that tower just in time to avoid pretty much having all of those villages wiped out by 8 or so crossbowmen and skirmishers that were going straight to that wood line. So looking at the general complexion of it, Zuppi and Pike still in the feudal age, although Zuppi has at least clicked up, and he looks very, very safe at this point. Actually going for the full wall, and looks like he's completed it entirely. Did throw up a market, so I'm gonna assume we're not going to see any kind of sling coming out from him, because he's Mongols. I don't see that being a possibility here. Moonlight making a move into the wood line of Pike, trying to pick off Vils, because not all of them can hide in the tower, but Max is on hand to deal with that, and now Moonlight will be having his army severely depleted, and Pike can return to gathering safely. Love Cheng has kind of recovered his villager deficit now, to some extent, at least caught up with his flanks, given that he was on those 2 CCs, but Max is starting to race ahead. We can already see him sort of 7 villagers in front of Love Cheng, and also on an extra TC already. I don't think Love Cheng, with the amount of harassment that he suffered, has actually been able to get that 2nd TC. So it looks like Max and Pike may combine on the right hand side to go and do some damage, although struggling to see. Oh, there we go, there's Pike's army. It looks like he's going to stay at home now actually, focus on getting to the Castle Age without suffering any further damage. Yo also on his way to the Castle Age. Although he did some decent harassment on Max's woodline, felt like he didn't do too much after that, so I'm surprised he wasn't up a tiny little bit earlier than this. Perhaps there was something I missed, although he has managed to sneak into the back of Pike's base here, but with only half a dozen archers. Tower is there, Max is here to help go and run over and clean that up if necessary, and Pike kept his army at home, so that's no problem. Sitting on Pike's point of view, he sent a lot of villagers to stone because he did do that tower, so he needs the stone to get TCs up, but we'll have to see if that also means that before long he'll be trying to make a transition to plumes. It will be really great if he can manage to do that, because like for China having their mine player doing plumes and Finland having their mine player doing crossbows will obviously be a little bit weaker. Yo is not going to be successful in picking up any villagers here. You can see Pike by himself massively outnumbers him here. Max is going to chase Love Cheng across the map. So just looking again at the villager numbers, Max is racing ahead in terms of total economy. He's really far ahead of the opposing pocket Love Cheng, who is now on to 3 TCs, but that 10 villager deficit is being maintained. But otherwise the flanks for Finland are either level or somewhat behind in terms of total villager numbers, so I think, you know, over the next sort of segment of the game, Max is going to have to be a big factor. Looks like Pike and Max are going to have like a great pick though here, trapping most of Moonlight's army in a really nice pincer movement, and that's going to see, once those crossbows go down, Moonlight basically on 0 army. Meanwhile, taking a look over at the left, because we haven't been here for a while, Yo going with Mangonel defense, but only on 1 town centre for now, and a huge number of crossbows, but all within his base, not really doing much at this point. Zuppi, as I said last time I was here, had made himself nice and safe, and we see him getting out TCs, 3 in total now, and looking to boom up as well with a siege workshop and elite skirmisher to presumably defend against the hordes of crossbows that Yo has. Yep, this is China v Finland 3v3. I think the next game will be 4v4. I'm from memory, I'm pretty sure Rubenstock did turn up, and somebody else turned up for SY. On the day, but I think like they started 3v3 and then went to 4v4 later. Few plumes here, outnumbered by Pike, gonna get picked off. Just a few X's coming out in different parts of the map, with Finland letting their teammates know where some kind of like stray groups of Chinese units are, and Max is doing his best with his knight to hunt them down, but for now they're just escaping his clutches, but neither doing very much damage either. Yo pushing out, trying to get TC on this second goal, which is really exposed. Mangonel is going to try and force away all those skirmishers, but Zuppi nicely adding in a couple of knights here to come in and take on Mangonel. That's a really nice choice from him. Easy for him to do because he had that stable back in Feudal Age and then went archery range transition afterwards, and he should be able to get a couple of villagers here potentially if those skirmishers had been a little bit further forward. They would have been easy picks whilst the knights took care of the Mangonel. And also bringing up a Mangonel of his own, so that TC is going to be in need of deletion by Yo. And Zuppi looks in pretty good shape here. He's 20 vills ahead of Yo now, having already got onto 3 TCs as we saw previously. And Yo still on 2, and looking like he's going to struggle to be able to have a very saturated woodline eventually. Yo does, however, have a gigantic army of crossbows, and we see those taking a nice position on the front of Max's base here, aided by the hill and a few plumes from Love Cheng. They're gonna stop Max from taking his third gold, or his second gold. Even I don't know where his second gold is. Might be able to bust through that wall and pick up some villages over here if Max doesn't send them to safety quickly enough. Moonlight has now transitioned to cavalry archers, +2, +1 on bloodlines, and Max is really in a bad spot here with all three opposing players at his base in some capacity at least. He's going to need help from flanks here, you would think. Otherwise he's going to take massive losses in terms of villages, and that big boom that he's been having, getting ahead of his opponents and maintaining a 10 villager advantage throughout the game, is now being cut out completely. Like, he's already down to basically the same numbers as Love Cheng and, interestingly, Moonlight. And the raiding continues to idle villagers and kill villagers. See everybody cowering under the TCs for dear life here, and Max alone does not have the army to force this away. Only 16 knights when Yo has like 30, 40 crossbows here, as well as kind of 20 cavalry archers from Moonlight and some of Love Cheng's plumes as well. Oh, thank you very much for the resubscription, Nimino. Always value your support, of course. Something I have been missing kind of over here, there's this sizable battle going on in the back of Moonlight's base. Mangonel picking up some of Pike's crossbows, but looks like Pike in return picking up a decent number of Moonlight's CA that were at home, and he's now poised to move in on this TC and maybe pick up some stray villagers. Looking like Moonlight doesn't really have wood in the back of his base at the moment, so Pike may be able to, in fact, temporarily at least, Moonlight not actually gathering wood except for like over here. There's not very many on wood at all, which is disadvantageous when you Hun's doing this kind of CA build from presumably quite a few ranges. Meanwhile, Max has not been able to force the combined forces of his enemies away from his base, and casualties continue to happen on this wood line, and really it looks like Max's attention is a little bit taken up by something, because like, these villagers are just being left to their deaths here. He's probably, okay, actually no, there's no, I thought there might be a battle going on down here, but not really. I like that outpost there though, to give him a bit of advance warning if that goal gets hit, but still some of those villagers could die if the CA go there. Keep an eye on that on the main map whilst just checking what goes on here. Looks like Max and Pike gonna group up and see if they can finally get rid of all of this stuff that Yo, and well, primarily Yo, has had in Max's base for probably the last 5 minutes now. Something else that's important to note while all of this has been going on, Love Cheng is transitioning to Elite Eagle Warriors. This is a really nice trap though, look at that. I clicked away just as the first mangonel shot came in, but we can see the amount of death that has actually happened there. Most of Yo's crossbows being cleaned up, and he's down to 17 military, whilst Zuppi starts to apply the pressure on him quite a bit with a forward castle and even forward lumber camp. His base not the best for gathering wood, so may as well take advantage of that safe spot under the shelter of the castle. Looks like Pike trying to sneak in, do a little bit of raiding in the back of Love Cheng's base. Zuppi continues to boom to the Imperial Age on 100 vills now. Going to be transitioning into that Mongol Imperial Age army sooner or later, and he's well ahead of his opponent, his Mongol opponent in Yo. So Finland will be fielding those elite Mangudai much earlier, but with the damage that was done to Max and slowing him down, he's not reached or even clicked up to the Imperial Age at this point, which was kind of surprising considering the economic lead he took in the game. And that's going to mean that even though Love Cheng was absolutely devastated early on in the match, the fact that he's been mostly not under pressure since, and being Mayans of course with their great eco, big great ability to recover and not needing to get on ridiculous numbers of villagers, the kind of 90 or so would be viable to just spam Eagles once you've got those upgrades in. Love Cheng's made his way back into the game, and he's trying to apply pressure to Zuppi, or or rather just stop Zuppy applying pressure from his teammate Yo. He'll probably look to spam into all bases if he can. I'm going to take a look at his resources. It's not the best at the moment, and we can see that those Eagles still missing a few upgrades, although +4 armor is at least coming in. Looks like Max will actually be his target for now. Most of the production is being directed towards Max's base, although the Eagles are streaming in more or less 1 by 1, 2 by 2, and that means that running into this massive knights that Max has not going to work out terribly well for him, given the numbers deficit. Yo on his way to the Imperial Age along with Max. Pike still hasn't clicked up, so he's going to be the last of the Imperial Age, but more or less everyone on the map making that Imperial Age transition now. We can see that Pike, we did see a lot of crossbows from him in the Castle Age, trying to do some raiding and also trying to help defend Max, but now he's going for that elite plumed archer transition, getting multiple castles in nice strategic hills in front of his base, and looking to do some raiding of Moonlight, who is just about to reach the Imperial Age, but for now doesn't really have much army in total, so won't be going super aggressive straight away, like flooding cavaliers or anything like that. Important to note that that's his Imperial Age transition. He was starting off on crossbows, then CA, and now that he's in the Imperial Age as Huns, the only paladin Civ, of course, with this Civ combination, it's his responsibility to transition into those paladins in the Imperial Age. Zuppy looking pretty good to apply pressure to Yo now. Love Cheng didn't actually kind of interrupt that kind of forward building that... Sorry, I went blank about what player I was talking about there. Love Cheng didn't manage to interrupt the forward building that Zuppy was doing on Yo, and now there are a whole bunch of castles surrounding Yo's base, denying him access to some of his gold, and he's starting to get those Mangidai out at this point, but importantly, no elite upgrade just yet, and I don't see it being researched, so those Eagles are going to be very powerful in that fight, because there are neither the numbers or the elite upgrade present for Zuppy there. And I think this castle, despite some nifty little quick walling, is going to be having trebuchet fire rain down upon it for a long time, and from two directions actually, and that could lead to that one forward castle from Zuppy being lost at least, which is never good when you're making your unique unit and you're going to be looking to have as many castles as possible to produce from and mass up. Finland starting to team wall the whole map, already thinking about trade. Likewise China, just a step behind, but also going for that trade. And that castle did indeed go down. It was hardly worth expending much more stone to repair, considering it was under fire from two different places, and Zuppy didn't really have the military presence to stop that from happening. So Max and Zuppy linking up on the left. Looks like Finland are going to concentrate the bulk of their attack on the left hand side. Yo and Love Cheng therefore being forced to combine on this side to fight them off, whilst Pike is basically making the other side of the map safe as best as he can. This is pretty funny that Moonlight is forward stealing his tertiary gold with 5 villagers, but other than that, and a few red cavaliers roaming around Max's base and ultimately being forced away and eventually should be sealed out by team walls, it seems nothing much happening going to happen over there, and everything will be concentrated on the left hand side, where these two armies did move in for an engagement. The trebuchets that were behind for Love Cheng have managed to take down that castle, along with Yo's over here as well, and that means that Zuppy is down to just 2 castles at this point, and surprisingly Yo has more castles than him now, which means that he'll be able to produce more Mangidai, and on more or less the same numbers of Mangidai as well. So looking like a good recovery from Yo. Love Cheng kind of just making Zuppy slow down just a little bit has given Yo that kind of breathing room to catch up to him in terms of kind of state at the game with being in the Imperial Age with castles producing Mangudai, etc. But still important to note that there is a 40 villager difference at least between the two players. So Zuppy going to have a better chance at production if he had more castles, if he's able to get more, but also a better chance of adding other stuff to his army besides elite Mangudai, such as the feared Mongol siege. It's like Pike picking up some amazing raiding on the edge of Yingguo's base here, whilst Yingguo's concentrating on that fight on the left. Just 15 or so plumes look to have killed 10 or more vills there. But as we return to this fight on the left, looks like it's going at least okay for Finland now, despite Zuppy having lost a couple of slightly ambitious or optimistic forward castles. It's always a risk when you put those castles forward as Mongols, because it's such a loss to if they actually get trebbed down. But despite losing those two castles, they look to be in good shape now with Paladin and Elite Mangudai starting to be massed up in decent numbers, and being a better combination overall than Elite. I nearly said Elite Eagle Warriors after one of the Twitch viewers. Elite Eagle Warriors and Elite Mangudai, and even Pike coming over here to help out with kind of 20 or so plumes of his own. Moonlight will be roaming around with his paladins, but not able to find a way in past the full team wall of China. So unless he masses up with a push with some siege, he's not going to be breaking in here at all. And Pike has kept some army on the right hand side to pick off some stray paladins, try and keep some control of the forward area of his base. You also see that he's interrupted Moonlight's attempt to steal half of his gold over here, half of his extra gold. You're going with coinage, interestingly, which is a Mongol player in the Imperial Age who is yet to reach the really the village account that you'd expect to see to maintain the very, very costly Elite Mangudai plus lots of siege combination that he'd ultimately be aiming for. It's interesting to see him doing coinage. Quite surprised, especially as he's not exactly floating tons of resources and he's a long way from PopCap. But this has worked out so well for Finland here, trapping a whole bunch of Moonlight's paladins in against the trees and just slaughtering them there, with 3 of Finland's armies being on the scene to do that. For Finland, it's Pike that's doing coinage, which is a much better call as Mayans in the Imperial Age. Once this gets to kind of late Imperial, Mayans the weakest civ out of these 3 on the whole, with the units that they have access to. So if you're going to have one person slinging or at least sending just some extra resources, I'd rather it be the Mayans than Mongols, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Left hand side, Finland basically massing for the death push. Zuppy getting some nice quick trebuchet snipes here as those ones. It looked like actually, one was yellow and one was green, so those trebuchets of the 2 Chinese players just being hung out to dry there, and Zuppy quickly taking advantage really nicely. Feel like China, if they don't bring something else over here, are going to struggle to hold this. There are way too many paladins as well as more elite Mangudai, and a lot of trebs can take down these castles so quickly. But on the right hand side, they've got through this wall somehow. Not entirely sure. Maybe Finland were kind of busy re-walling or something, like changing the location of the wall, and China just slipped through, because I don't see any siege in the location to allow them to get through. It's possible that they bust through with a couple of petards, I don't know. But you wouldn't expect it to be that big a hole either. So, and that's pretty important because they've made their way to the trade. So even though Finland on the left hand side look like they're able to mount much more of an effective push against the base of Yo, it's Finland's own trade that is coming under attack, and they're going to lose a sizable amount of carts now. Whereas the Chinese trade for now doesn't appear to have any raiding going on. Yo going to spread those Mangudais out, look to pick up as many carts as possible. have a look how the push is progressing on the left hand side. Quite a kind of a slow one, just inching those trebuchets forward, taking down the castles, which are obviously fantastic targets to be taking down when you're taking down Mongol castles. I'm going to switch to military view now, just to see where the militaries of the players are, because it's starting to get a little bit hectic. Max saving some of his carts here. He's taking them away from the trade route. That's pretty nice. But for... I want to go into military view of the Finland team as well, just to see where Pike is, etc. in a moment, but I'm just going to see how this plays out on the left. Looks like Yo is down to just 3 castles at this point. He must have built some more towards the back at this point. Yeah, we see some back here, like protecting the trade line, etc. 2 very large Mangudai armies going to come into conflict, but Yo doesn't want to take that fight. Really, Zuppi would have the slight hill and would be backed up by paladins as opposed to plumed archers of Lovechain. But now Finland sneaking some units into the trade. Those plumed archers will get easily mopped up by a few paladins from Moonlight, though not getting enough numbers into the trade there to really do anything. So main action now is on the left once again. Zuppi not really fighting with all of his Mangudai there. Most of Lovechain's plumes were distracted by firing at the paladins of Max, which meant that if Zuppi had kind of just rolled all of his Mangudai forward quickly and just all started firing, he could have taken down so many of those plumes then, whilst they were occupied firing at the very tanky paladins. Use this moment to change and see where Finland's armies are. Looks like they've got a lot of stuff spread everywhere. Got Pike kind of preparing a little bit of a push on the right, but still the main stuff going on is on the left, where China, surprisingly to me, have managed to kind of force Finland back a little bit, regain some ground, and now we see them laying siege to Zuppi's castles. But Zuppi is occupying a good position on that hill with multiple trebs of his own from which to return fire, and those castles of Finland and of Zuppi should not fall. Yo just roaming around the middle of the map, getting some nice picks on where Zuppi was trying to mass up some siege rams. I'm not going to say no to some free siege ram picks. But it feels like Lovechain, having like gone with that Elite Eagle Warrior transition right at the start of Imperial Age, is now fully black on plumed archer production. When I did see some plumes over here, I wondered if those were leftover ones, but it's clear that he's actually completely stayed with the plumed archer production now, or completely gone back into it. The kind of raiding of the eagles to start with wasn't that effective, and he's going to go for the plumed archer mass. I have no idea whether China are on TeamSpeak or not. I'd assume they were on some sort of voice chat, but you're right, it does seem like maybe they're typing some stuff. Maybe there was one guy who wasn't, I don't know. But it's kind of unusual to see them typing to this extent, because I've casted some of the games before and never noticed them being so talkative using the actual in-game chat. Pretty close game though, as we go into the later stages of it now. We're at 56 minutes and all of the players on each team are at roughly 170 to 190 population. Neither side sees either of the teams really mounting a decisive attack that's going to push one flank player all the way back and wipe them out of the game at this point. There's a lot of kind of switching across the map with different players combining with each other, trying to take fights, but nothing happening that suggests which way the outcome of the game might go at this point. This is actually one of the first kind of like main siege pushes that we've seen, besides the tread pushing on the left hand side of the map, which I will just return to. Looks like another siege workshop was lost there, not at the castle actually. This is the first time we've seen a whole bunch of rams or anything from anybody, and they are from Pike and Moonlight. Well, Pike and Love Cheng as well. Pike's castles will survive though. Gonna return over here. It seems Zuppy is starting to look in pretty good shape. He's switched into SO now, and I was talking about that a little while back. Even though Yo had kind of caught up with him on terms of Imperial Age castle numbers, Mangudai numbers, Zuppy always had like 40 more vills to begin with. I mean, he's deleted some now, but he had 40 more vills, and I thought that would allow him to switch into the siege much earlier. And I'm surprised like we're seeing it as late as we are. But Yo instead was doing coinage, and he's only now researching Onaga. Some nice Onaga shots. And most of the Mangudai for Yo being lost. Yo actually going down to just 20 military now, and this is looking really tough for him on the left hand side. Love Cheng doesn't have that many plumes here either, and with SO on the field and paladins, like plumes are just starting to be really ineffectual, and Yo is looking in trouble now. Some sporadic raiding by Moonlight with Hussars, but otherwise the Finland trade line is looking to be secure, with team walls covering most of the map. They're mounting a good push on the left hand side, and it looked like on the right Love Cheng and Moonlight would start to do a little bit of a push against Pike because they had all those rams, but Finland seemed to rebuff that pretty easily. Pike's now getting a good amount of siege rams of his own. The military numbers for him and Max are looking very, very impressive. 126 or so army between them, and the Chinese are struggling now. Yo's population overall has dropped massively, and army numbers in general are very, very, very far behind Finland at this point. Finland actually with about 200 army, whereas China can't even boast 100 at this point, and that's why it's GG. Like, Yo is close to being dead. Within a minute or two his base, or most of it, would have been wiped, and they can't hold the push on either side, so really strong game by Finland there. China's military strength just seemed to wane as we transitioned into the post-Imperial Age there. And you know, Zuppy was a big factor because he was just a long way ahead of Yo, even though there was a time when they looked kind of even in terms of military production. He always had the advantage by being much further ahead in economy. Pike's team walling on the right was pretty effective because Moonlight doing those paladins and never really getting any siege together to manage to push through the walls was not really able to do anything decisive. And then Love Cheng, the start of the Imperial Age, he made that Eagle Warrior transition that didn't really pay off for him, and then having to transition back into plumed archer production just seemed to leave him a little bit too far behind. So I think it's military strength military strength in the late game basically deciding it there, because no one had delivered any real knockout blows in the early game, although Love Cheng losing those 5 vills at the start of Castle Age was pretty big thing, but ultimately he did eventually catch up basically, so it didn't decide things in the end. It was more the continued ability to field large armies for Finland that was the most decisive factor in the end. See, everyone basically getting to that late game stage with high amounts of villagers. It's just Finland taking slightly better fights, slightly better compositions, and sustaining production. So that gives the first game to Finland. I'm gonna just throw up music for literally 1 minute and then I'll be back to head into game 2. So see you in a moment, guys.